Now, one of the reasons why the no vote had such a decisive, comprehensive win in every state and even the Northern Territory, only ACT voted yes, well, was the quality of the Indigenous leaders who advocated the no vote. Future PM Jacinta Price, you heard it here first, and Warren Mundine were stalwarts, and it was a tireless campaign, particularly from those two. It did take its toll. Warren Mundine has spoken about the ugly attacks against him and how it pushed him to the brink. And after the victory, Warren Mundine's patience for silly questions from journalists was, well and truly over.
There's a lot of manipulation.
What are you suggesting the AEC?
You know what? People are committing suicides in these communities. People are being raped and beaten, and this is the questions you come up with? Where's about getting results? Getting people reducing suicide, and instead of this nonsense that you people carry on with. It's about time. We had a vote tonight that said Australians want to get things done.
Kosha, what will happen next? Will we have an inquiry into where these billions are going, why we're having such poor outcomes despite the enormous expenditure?
Maybe, although I think when a country's approaching $1 trillion in debt, I don't think an inquiry in spending is probably going to be at the top of the list for a lot of people, though maybe it should. I will say this, though. The flip side to this argument is 40% of the country still did vote yes. And some would say that's probably surprising. If this had theoretically taken place 30, 40 years ago, you might have seen a bigger split. So I don't think that agenda has been defeated necessarily, even though this referendum went down the way it did. You're seeing state legislatures already pushing ahead with versions of this. You're going to see other rules and regulations coming through in society indirectly around it to press on. And so I think Labor will, continue with this agenda taking a different shape or form, just not as a constitutional amendment.
Well, it did become party political. So though a lot of Labor voters voted against it, I think a lot of them would have voted for it because Labor Party Albanese was so tireless in pushing it, and the overwhelming majority of Greens voted for it. So it was just, along those leftist Conservative Party lines. Now, as the fallout from the unprecedented attacks against Israel continues, there are clear signs that Iran played a major role, not just in funding the atrocities, but planning them. During a 60-minute interview, President Joe Biden had this to say when asked about growing tensions in the region, and he had a message for Hezbollah, which controls regions in southern Lebanon.
There's limited fighting already on the northern Israeli border, and I wonder, what is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran?
Don't
come across the border. Don't escalate this war.
That's right.
Kosha, the White House under Biden is just weak, ineffectual, and it seems like it's an invitation almost to tyrants, whether they be in Iran, whether they be in China or Russia, to do as they wish.
I think a lot of people are making that observation, certainly in terms of what happened in the 4 years of the previous administration versus now. Maybe it's all coincidence, or maybe it is a direct consequence of the perception of the U.S. leadership being very weak and kind of not in control. I think he got the memo there about less is more. Just one word, don't is the answer. As opposed to when he freelances, he often steps in it, as we know. But
the journalist stepped in and finished his answer for him. Yep. And again, I don't think that actually conveys strength if you're looking on.
Right, and you're being sort of handled by the journalists and the friendly media. And Scott Pelley, he tends to do that, sort of bake the answer into the question. The next obvious question is, okay, don't, how so? The U.S. doesn't have a magic wand to say don't. So is he intimating that he's going to stop funding to Iran? The $6 billion, that's got a lot of airplay, that gets laundered through and found its way into Hamas. Are we going to stop funding and providing arms to Ukraine? Because there's an argument some of that ends up on the black market and finds its way into wrong hands. Or is he intimating involvement, U.S. involvement? And the U.S. is very, very divided right now. And public opinion for increasing involvement and boots on the ground is dwindling by the day in the U.S. And a lot of people are worried about what that don't actually means.